I am here today with author Marguerite Pacholski. She is the author of the newly released book, Wildwood Nights. Thank you so much for joining us today. And why don't you just start by telling us a little bit about your book?
Hey, my book, Wildwood Nights, takes place in Wildwood, New Jersey. It's a real shore town, and it's someplace that I used to frequent when I was a teenager in the late 70s and 80s. So that's where I started my book, and it's about a girl who was 17 down there for the summer after she left a controlling father, and she meets up with a guy in a rock band. So it's a lot about the time and the area and the era, and the music and the things that went on down there at the time.
And I know you kind of touched on it a little bit and the inspiration behind it, but tell us a little bit more about really what made you put, pen to paper and get this book published.
Honestly, I'm a night shift nurse for most of my adult life, and at night we used to tell stories, keep each other awake, and so I have a lot of material. So what I did with my real life stories was actually put them in a fiction book, made all these stories happen to one character. So the book is fiction, but the stories in there are actually true. They're things that actually happened to the people I know.
Wow. And if there's, one thing or maybe even a couple of things about your book that you want to tell your audience today, what would you like to kind of leave them with about your book?
Well, I think the best thing about my book is for anybody who's been down to the Jersey Shore, or people who've heard about it but never been there. This is actually a way of seeing what it was like. Of course, back the late 70s and 80s was a time that many people know. And this is written by somebody who was actually there at the time. So everything in there will give you a clear picture of what was going on at that time.
Hmm. And just out of curiosity too, Marguerite, has it really dawned on you that you are a published author now?
Absolutely not. It's something I started writing books 20 years ago. Actually, when I turned 40 years old, I'm 60 now, I decided that the only limitations on my life were really the ones that I put there. So I decided to take off those limitations and start doing things that, I always thought about doing, but really didn't see. I never saw myself as an author. I saw myself as a wife and a mother, a nurse. But then, when you get to a certain point, you think, this is your life, the only one you get. And there are things out there that you can actually do and try. So I had written the books, and all the people would give me stories that wanted to be in there or told me interesting stories, and we just enjoyed it amongst my friends, my neighbors, my family, my coworkers. And then when I was getting ready to turn 60, I said my goal was to publish 3 books by the time I was 60. And my husband Mike and my best friend Linda, they made that happen for me. It was the best present I ever received. And so Wildwood Nights is one closest to my heart because, there's so many stories in there. And every time I read it, I can relate exactly to the person and when they told me the story, and just how, what a big kick they got out of being in the book.
I love that. Well, thank you so much, Marguerite, for your time today. And once again, her book, Wildwood Nights, is out now. It's available on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Apple iTunes. It comes in ebook versions and also an audiobook version as well. Thank you so much, Marguerite, for joining us today.
Oh, thank you.